Hello and welcome to the Game Theory Podcast. I'm your host, Sam Vecenie. Today on the show, Bryce Simon is here with me. We're going to dive deep into particularly the Western Conference playoffs. We're going to talk Mavs, Thunder. We're going to talk Nuggets and Wolves. Might talk a little bit about Boston Cavs. We're going to avoid Indiana, New York, because that game tips off in like 2 hours. But until then, let's hit the music.
They do have a timeout. Decide not to use it. Way downtown.
Bang! Bang! What's this gonna be? Wow! Are you kidding me?
Hello and welcome to the Game Theory Podcast. I'm your host, Sam Vecenie. But if you watch the tape, what you will see completely orchestrated this game. Bryce, what's going on, buddy?
What's up, Sam? I don't know what I'm gonna do with myself tonight. We have one playoff game. What are we doing? One playoff game on a Wednesday night? I'm used to 2, 3, having to watch them the next day. This is gonna be a little bit different with just one game tonight.
I know what I'm gonna do. It's gonna involve me writing 8,000 words of draft guide tonight. I'm through all of the guys I have first round grades on now, which is exciting, which means I'm through many, many more than that. But I feel I finally did Bub Carrington yesterday. We texted about Bub Carrington a little bit, and I am very in on Bub Carrington after having done the dive again. It's funny. I've gone on a roller coaster with him. People got real excited early on, and I was like, well, he hasn't done any of this against good teams yet. And then people went down on him again, and now it feels like, I don't know, it's hit like this medium ground. And going through the tape and like watching him on defense and watching everything, he got way better on defense this year. I've become a Bub Carrington fan.
Well, we text about it. When he's locked in on defense, he's pretty good. And I've seen him in those stretches, and it's like, man, there's length here. There's there's some stuff to it. And it's pretty good. He's a really good pull-up jump shooter. So, yeah, I was thinking today, Sam, I was like, man, how was I doing it back during the season when I was trying to watch 82 Pistons games, keep track of regular NBA games, all of the teams playing, do NBA draft stuff, like all of that. I was like, man, this is way easier right now where there's very few new college NBA draft games, right? Some of the overseas guys are still playing.
Yeah.
And we get 1 or 2 NBA games a night, only 8 teams playing. This is a lot easier to keep on top of things. My wife is much happier because we watched Molly's game on Sunday or Monday.
Yeah,
I assume
fun one.
Yeah, we've seen it before, but it was just as good on second watch. So
yeah, Molly's game's a fun one. I like Molly's game.
Very good.
Okay, so Bryce, we're gonna start today with Oklahoma City and Dallas. So Oklahoma City beats Dallas 117-95 last night. And watching through that game, I was kind of struck by a couple of things. Like, I think any conversation with Dallas right now has to start with, it does not feel like Luka is 100% healthy. Like, I get that Luka doesn't play with a lot of lift, but in general, even right now, it seems pretty sapped in terms of his stop-start ability, his ability to separate. Any conversation here, I think we just got to lay it out there, and that's not to take anything away from Oklahoma City, because God knows we're going to give them all sorts of flowers here during this conversation. But I want to lay that out as a critical point here as I go through what we're going to talk about. The second piece of it is starting with almost like a baseline conversation about the playoffs right now and about what teams are finding success in the playoffs. So Bryce, you sent me a note last night that I thought was super smart. Kind of run through what you've seen in the playoffs so far in terms of teams that have been able to find that game over game success so far.
Yeah, so I looked and I said my thoughts as we look at the 4 best teams. And so when I'm saying the 4 teams that have looked the best, it'd be Minnesota, OKC, and then New York and Boston in the Eastern. I said they all have elite perimeter defense. They all have elite rim protection when Kristaps Porzingis is healthy for the Celtics. And I guess we can quibble whether Kristaps is elite or not, but these other 3 teams absolutely have it. 3 of the 4 have a singular hub of the offense. Now, some Jalen Williams fans may quibble with that a little bit. I thought this one was really interesting, Sam. All but one of the stars is a legit two-way player. I thought Anthony Edwards' first game or game 1, first half against the Nuggets was some of the best two-way basketball I've seen from somebody in a long time. Like, I thought he was incredible. And then the other thing I said was 3 of those 4 teams, in the top 2 or 3 things you say about them is they play hard as shit. Like, they just absolutely play. And this is no knock on the Mavs, but you don't think of the Mavs and go, man, they play really, really hard. You know, even the Nuggets, you don't go, man, they play. But you talk about the Timberwolves, they get after you. The Thunder, they don't get enough credit. I know you want to talk about that. And then obviously the Knicks, it's their number one thing. The Celtics are the only team where you're not going, oh, this is a top 3 thing. And I'm not saying they don't.
Like with the Celtics, they have like Drew Holiday. Drew Holiday plays hard as shit.
And Peyton Pritchard.
Derek White plays hard as hell. Like, Derek White isn't like wildly physical, but like he fights his ass off over screens, and like he is a physical on-ball defender in a real way. Jalen Brown's like a physical dude who plays hard. At least, like, you can say whatever you want about Jalen Brown, dribbling, left hand, whatever, but like that dude plays hard. I think all 4 of those teams, especially across the perimeter, like those guys play hard
and physical, right? Like, I know that's what you want to touch on, especially with the Thunder. Yeah. And I don't want to steal your thunder, sorry. But with the way the rules have adjusted a little bit here, it's playing into those favor of Josh Hart, Jalen Williams, Lou Dort. The way those guys defend is really, really paying off now, especially where they're allowing and this happens in the playoffs anyway. So, you know, we expected it to take a jump here, but they're taking advantage of it. There's no doubt about it.
I'm so proud of you for embracing your inner Spinella and just going full dad joke. Like, Spence was doing it before he had a child, and here, like, you've had kids for years now. You're just doing it now.
Here's the funny thing is I said it, and then I was like, how am I going to get out of this without sounding like a complete 37-year-old dad joke? And if any of my students heard what I just said, they'd be clowning me so bad at school tomorrow. I couldn't find a way out of it. Like, I was into it too far, and I had no other way to get out. So I just rolled with it. And I was kind of hoping everybody would just miss it.
Yeah, you dug too deep of a hole there.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the big thing for me when watching these playoffs is, and I've seen this talked about quite a bit with Minnesota, is the way that officiating in the changes with the way that the NBA is being officiated over the course of really from February onward has changed the paradigm of the league. And Minnesota is like a prime example of this, right? Like, they're allowed to be more physical. They have 2 bigs with Karl Towns and Rudy Gobert. And then on top of it, they have these really physical on-ball defenders like Jaden McDaniels, Anthony Edwards, Nickeil Alexander-Walker's obviously been very physical. We'll watch tape, right? I think the team that we way underrated, and this brings us into our first piece of the conversation here with Oklahoma City, we way underrated how much this was going to help Oklahoma City.
Yeah.
Because having Lou Dort and Jalen Williams be able to be as physical as they want to be on the perimeter, those are 2 of the strongest perimeter players point blank in the NBA right now. Lou Dort is built like a truck. Jalen Williams is 240 pounds and 7'2" wingspan, and like really gets up under you and into you with that length and with that strength. I think that Oklahoma City got helped more by this than what I think like anybody has talked about really as we go through this. Having those 2 guys that you can just throw at people, and then having like Shai's length,
and not to mention Casey
Wallace.
Yeah,
that's exactly right. Like, there are just so many bodies that Oklahoma City can throw at you. And oh, by the way, then they're coming at you in waves on offense. Oklahoma City is a tough problem to solve right now with the way that the game is being officiated.
Well, and then you have the backline defense of Chet as well, right? Like, I thought he was really good in this game, protecting the rim. And we've talked all the time about how he holds up better than what you might think with verticality. And I even saw it, guys turning down attempts last night. They saw Chet there and they're like, nope, we're not going to take that one. And, while Joe and Wiggins and those guys aren't this same level of physicality, even Josh Giddey, it probably helps him because he's not beating you defensively with his quickness or something like that. Like he's going to beat you by being bigger and stronger. And that's just kind of his thing. So we have, I will say, I was thinking about this. We have talked about Dort and Jalen Williams and how physical they are. Yeah. And we highlighted it the entirety of that first round series and what Dort did to Brandon Ingram. So it's something we've talked about. I don't know that I realized it's one game, but I don't know that I realized it was going to play at Luka and Kyrie. I thought Kyrie really struggled. That was a really rough first half, especially for Kyrie. He had 4 or 5 turnovers in the first quarter. If it's going to affect him like that, this series may be quick if the Mavs offense can't figure something out.
Before we get into defense and, at some point we're going to talk about all this other stuff, Bryce, you always talk to me about getting blacked out of games where you are in Kansas.
5 cities, Sam, 5 cities I pay for League Pass and get blacked out of because I live in the middle of nowhere.
Well, I've got an answer for you. It's NordVPN. While we're on the topic of these players, of Bryce getting blacked out of these games and having all sorts of problems with it, NordVPN is here to secure your internet and help you avoid getting blacked out. What's a VPN? It's a virtual private network. A VPN reroutes your traffic through a remote server, encrypting it in the process. This hides your location from ISP, hackers, and other people looking to get your data. Everyone knows that I'm a huge fan of movies. Look, it's way easier for me to find movies using a VPN. I can log into Germany. I can log into the United States, obviously, in order to get different streaming services. It's super easy for me. We just talked about Bryce being able to say he's in Los Angeles with his VPN so that he doesn't get blacked out of some of the teams in the Midwest. There's just a lot of value to having a VPN beyond the security aspect, which is really, really important. As somebody who's on the go, connecting to public Wi-Fi is a necessity. It's also just a goldmine for hackers, though. That's where NordVPN comes in, creating a secure tunnel for my data to travel through away from prying eyes. There are other benefits to using NordVPN, too. Your browsing history will be yours and yours alone. Your virtual location will be masked from those who seek to track your every move. It's really just like having a force field around your online identity. And then Nord is going to go an extra mile with threat protection. Malware trackers, dodgy ads, they're all going to get blocked. And it's like having a shot blocking big around your devices 24/7. NordVPN is offering Game Theory fans an exclusive deal. Score 4 extra months and up to 75% off subscriptions. Just head to nordvpn.com/Game Theory to claim your discount. NordVPN, NordVPN.com/Game Theory to claim your discount. Plus, with Nord's 30-day money-back guarantee, you've got nothing to lose and everything to gain. NordVPN, look, I use it seriously every day of my life. I am an enormous fan of the product. So I'm excited to be able to share it with you guys. Okay, do you want to talk about Oklahoma City's defense now? Because I have some clips, Bryce.
Let's do it. Yep, I love it.
Okay. So let's get this up on the screen here. What we're going to find here is I need to be able to rewind and stuff, and I can't really do that right now. This is annoying. Let's move you up. Okay, there we go. So a lot of these clips, I just pulled because you're going to see Oklahoma City just absolutely being physical, getting over the top of screens at a super high level. I also pulled a lot of clips of how Dallas seemed to be attacking what Oklahoma City was presenting them defensively, because I think there are a few things that Oklahoma City tried to do, and we'll talk about them as we kind of run through the clips here. So this one, this sets up almost as a double drag. Luka takes these kind of double drags in a bit of a different way, I guess is kind of the easiest way to say it. he sometimes will speed around them like a normal situation. Other times he'll like kind of go a little bit more slowly around them. And when that happens, he's kind of waiting to see, okay, we're going to let Derek Jones clear, Derek Jones here, number 55. We're going to then let, Daniel Gafford set up for a screen so he can get into a roll, right? There are a lot of different ways that, Luka likes to take these. In this one, he kind of tries to take it a little bit slower. Lu Dort decides to go under this because Luka's so far away from the basket, and because one of Oklahoma City's strategies very clearly is to deny the second screen, right? Look at where Shai Gilgeous-Alexander is on this play. He's in front. He's basically denying this screen for Luka to go around it. If Luka tries to go around it, Shai is just going to pop out here and almost like hedge. And the thing that I want to point out here is look at how far in on the weak side Chet is already. You're going to see throughout these clips, Oklahoma City is basically overplaying the big roll man with a heavy tag and basically daring like a corner 3-point shooter who's somewhere over here to beat them.
Yeah, and I think they may have gone zone here. And the reason I say that is I remember watching the game live, and I feel like I saw Dagnall put up the fist. Like it was like he was making a defensive call. So I was thinking they potentially were in a 3-2 zone here, just the way things are set up at the top, and then Giddey and Chet on the blocks.
It looks like it might be, but the thing that's throwing me is just the difference in height for Jalen Williams and Josh Giddey here. I would believe you that this is a zone, like it's very plausible. It probably is, given the way that they matched up throughout the game. Like having Shai matched up with Daniel Gafford was not something they did throughout the game.
I don't know that I would have noticed it, but I just remember I love watching the bench, and they cut to Dagnall, and I just remember him giving the fist and like really pointing and stuff. And I was like, oh, I wonder what fist means. And then they came out, and this was a possession. I think this was the exact one, or it looked like this. So that's what made me think.
Yeah, I think you might be right here. The thing that's throwing me is like Jalen is so high already. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
If this is a 2-3, which is how it originally set up, right? With, 2 out top, and I don't know, man. It's a weird zone. I kind of love it. I love it as a counter, because like even I'm like a little bit thrown on what exactly it is. I think you're probably right that it's a zone.
Well, what I wonder is if they're going to go 3-2, they're going to take Luka away from the top, take Kyrie away from the top, and say, all right, Daniel Gafford, catch the ball at the free throw line and see if you can, do anything with it from there.
It might be a 3-2. Yeah, it's probably a 3-2. I mean, yeah, you've got your 3 up top, you've got your 2 underneath, but yeah, and then Josh is kind of coming in from the weak side early, maybe, but like then he sinks back. Okay, I can accept this being a 3-2. I'm here for it. But the thing I wanted to point out more than anything here is just look at how far off they are on the corners, right?
Yeah,
and this was a thing that they were just willing to go to all day, even with Kyrie in the corner on the weak side right there, or on the strong side, I guess, of this play. Look at just how well they're playing those gaps, right? Like you have Chet here who's ready to sink in or ready to close out on PJ. You've got Josh Giddey here who is ready to sink in and be available on Gafford. They're just really, really smart in this circumstance. Let's get into like the man-to-man stuff, because that's going to be a little bit more applicable. So this one, Oklahoma City just switches, right? They get Wiggins on Luka Doncic. Then they send 2. Sending 2 to the ball was something Oklahoma City did pretty regularly throughout this game. They were willing to help off of Tim Hardaway Jr., a great shooter. They were willing to send 2 off of, I don't think they sent 2 off of Kyrie ever, but they were really willing to send it off of really anybody other than who Kyrie was guarding. Just look at how they rotate around here. So like you have Jalen Williams rotate out after sending 2. So Kaysen goes to send 2, and then he's going to get back and going to be in recovery here. Jalen Williams is going to shoot up from the corner. He's ready to go. What I want you guys to see here as well, look at Jalen Williams coming up from the corner. Look at how he's denying that pass to the corner with his arms out, right? Active, kind of just making it harder for Tim Hardaway Jr. to be able to get this ball all the way to the corner. If he does, he's going to have to loop it over the top potentially, and that's going to give Chet time to close out. If Chet gets time to close out, you're going to have Kaysen be able to, hold on, let's go back. You're going to have Josh Giddey be able to go here to Derek Lively, and then Kaysen probably shoots out to the corner to Josh Green, and then they're recovered, right?
Yep.
So by denying that with Jalen Williams' hands out like that, all ready to play, he forces the pass into Derek Lively on the interior here, where they're just set at that point, and then Kaysen can read and react, and he's just going to the corner here to Kyrie, right? It's an easier rotation there, but that's forced in part by Jalen Williams being active and aggressive in the way that he is defensively, and that's just really, really important. And then Chet Holmgren here just does a great job, walls up, blocks the shot. Derek Lively, Daniel Gafford. Gafford had a bunch of points, but I thought Gafford was not incredible in this game on offense.
Oh, no, I agree. I mean, I text you another thing is like, I think Maxi Kleba is going to be a huge miss for not having him is going to be greatly missed for them. And that's like Kyrie is a over 50% 3-point shooter from the corner this season, Sam. And instead of that, like, Derek Lively got the ball at 5 feet, but it's Derek Lively not catching a lob and with Chet directly between him and the basket, and Lively has to try to make a post move, which I don't mean to like crush him, but I would much rather Lively try to score on Chet with him between them, the basket from 5 feet, than Kyrie get a somewhat wide open corner 3. Like that's a no-brainer to me.
So good example of why that probably was a 2-3 zone or a 3-2 zone in the first possession is just look, same set they're setting up, right? Going with this slower double dragon, semi-transition, just crossed half court, right? Shai on Derek Jones, then you have Chet out on Daniel Gafford. Makes sense to me I'm with you that was a zone now. Like I'm officially there and realizing that I was kind of wrong to think about it that way. Okay. So how are they playing this? They're going to switch the first one with Lou Dort. And then they're going to fight over the top of the second one with Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. Now, the fun part of this set, if you look at it,
they're double dragging to Spain.
Well, yeah, I was going to say that's exactly what it was. They're double dragging to Spain. They're trying to get Shai here. Or no, they're trying to get Kaysen here as he switches. And then they're going to have Tim Hardaway float up here in the Spain piece of it. While Luka kind of goes around the play. That's a bad arrow, but whatever.
Kaysen is really good here for a rookie. Look at this communication.
Unbelievable communication from Kaysen Wallace. Look at that. Points it out immediately to Lou Dort. Says, hey, we got to switch this. I'm going to go here. Stick with Tim Hardaway here. Right? Yep. Unbelievable communication here. To be able to understand this as a rookie, what's going on. Now, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander simultaneously is fighting over the top of this like crazy. Right? Look at how he gets up over the top of this, tries to get back in recovery. Chet is here and drop. He's all the way back now. Luka's trying to use his offhand to kind of shield it. And the other thing here, and this is what's crazy. This is my favorite defensive possession of this game by far from Oklahoma City, right? Look at this. You've got Chet coming down, trying to swipe at the ball. You've got Shai on the body. You've got Aaron Wiggins coming down.
Yep.
From the corner here, same side help, trying to swipe down at the ball, forcing Luka to turn around. You've got Lou Dort coming at the ball, right? It's just unbelievable. They're swarming Luka Doncic.
Yep.
Luka eventually has to call timeout because it's just like, man, we're fucked. Like, this is crazy. They're so long, they're so active, they're so aggressive, and they're physical. And Chet's just length in drop coverage is an enormous piece of this. This one here. Look at where we're picking up Luka.
Yep,
We're
exactly.
picking him up 70 feet from the basket. We're making it way harder for him just to like take that mental energy off the court. I was talking to a like friend of mine that's a former NBA player yesterday, and like the thing that he brought up with Minnesota was Minnesota just like picking up Jamal Murray and picking up all of those guards for Phoenix way up the court.
They even do it with Jokic, Sam. Naz Reid will pick 100%. Jokic up.
And you better believe we're going to talk about that. But more than anything, what that does, and he explained this perfectly, it just doesn't let these dudes take a second off.
Yeah.
Like take that little second to just reset themselves, right? Just say like mentally, okay, this is where I need to get to. We're running this set coming down the court. We're getting into our offense this way. When you have Lou Dort coming at you for 75 feet, you don't really get that split second to be able to take that off. So this one, Lou Dort just fights over the top, completely blows up the screen.
Yeah.
Literally just blows up Daniel Gafford's chest here, right? Gafford makes physical contact and Dort just like acts like it's not even there.
Yeah.
Again, Chet, perfect position in drop. This one just kind of bumps off a Lou's leg as he recovers, but like it's perfect.
Gafford's trying. Like that's it. Like sometimes we see screens where like, okay, come on. Like he has to, you would like for him to hold his ground more, but my guess is Lou Dort is so stinking strong that he's probably doing as much as he can. And yeah, Dort just blows it up. He's really good.
He's awesome on defense. He is absolutely fantastic. This one, they just started a break here. Next play, Jalen Williams on Luka, throwing different looks at him.
Yep.
Jalen Williams, a little bit bigger, a little bit longer, right? Again, Gafford this time tries to slip the screen.
Yep.
More of a catch higher drop from Jalen Williams than with Chet Holmgren. But the big thing I want to point out here is that weak side man.
Yep.
Look at how deep into the paint the tagger is already as Gafford comes off of this screen.
Yep.
This is an easy pass for Luka to make. Luka's unbelievable. Yeah, I think Cason Wallace does an amazing job here too, and it's clear this is a piece of Oklahoma City strategy where he's trying to cut off an angle here to make this pass a little bit harder, right? He's trying to make it so Luka has to loft it over the top, which means that he gets more time to close back out onto the shooter. But man, he's already there. Wiggins is already there to be able to contest this shot at the basket.
You have both corners involved because this is the one where SGA comes in from the backside and blocks it from behind Gafford. And this is what you mentioned it with Gafford. He did have some points. I thought his rim protection was pretty solid at times, but they're not letting these dudes just get dunks and catch lobs. They're making Gafford catch. Like we saw Lively early, he had to catch and make a move. Gafford has to catch with somebody into his legs, into his body. He does a good job keeping it high, but he can't explode and just go dunk that. And SGA is able to come and block it from behind. Like they're just swarming. Like that's what's crazy, Sam. They swarmed Luka at the top of the key, and then they also went and swarmed the big in the paint. Like they're able to do both because everybody's just so connected and active.
In the way that you take advantage of this, you know, maybe I'll talk about that as we go through more of them because there are just more clips like this, right? This one here, kind of cross-matching in transition, Cason on Kyrie, you know, that's a matchup that they want. But then this one, you know, they have both Jalen and Chet on the court, right? Jalen Williams there guarding Derek Lively, Chet Holmgren, you know, guarding Derek Jones, being kind of the floating help man in a way, right? So this one, you kind of try and set this up. And again, we're swarming, right? And this is a possession where it goes well. And this is why I think Lively might have to be the answer potentially. Even though I thought Gafford like played okay in this game. Like Gafford is not a great passer.
Correct.
Lively's not a great passer, but he's better than Gafford in terms of making the right reads. This one, he finds the right read out to the corner. If they're going to do this, where every single time there's a short roll where they put 2 on the ball, right? And that's what happens here. Look at how high Jalen Williams is. He's clearly trying to get Kyrie to no longer have the ball in his hands, right? He's letting Derek Lively get behind him and slip.
Yep.
If they're going to sag off of these corners in the way that they are, you really have to be able to hit this pass out, or the ball handler needs to be able to hit that cross corner kick out pass. And Luka can do it, obviously. Kyrie can do it. Like, these guys are great basketball players. I think they have to be a little bit more willing to hit that pass at the end of the day. Next one. This is, I think, the start of the second half, maybe. So, yeah, it's first possession of the second half. Derek Jones brings the ball up the court against Giddey. Again, you see Luka throw this little arm out at Lou, right? Shoves him off. Doesn't matter. I'm coming right back to you. Look at how they're setting up. They set up. A lot of kind of misdirection action here. You're going to see PJ Washington kind of come through the play. You're going to see Jones, I think, set a screen for Gafford to like kind of come up and screen for Luka's man, and can either be a step up or it can be a, whatever you want it to be kind of situation. This one's just like a middle ball screen. Again, Lou Dort just like flying over the top, getting back, physical, perfect drop coverage from Chet there. Daniel Gafford not being able to shoot there is the biggest issue to me.
Yep.
This leads to just a really difficult shot for Luka in the mid-range. But if Chet's going to be able to play this deep and cut off Luka, what you need is, and this is where your point about Maxi Kleber, I think, comes into play. You need a guy who can pick and pop and sit here and knock this down. And then you force the Giddey rotation. You can hit this out. Swing. You get this to Jalen Williams. Swing it down to the corner to Kyrie. That's where having a non-shooting threat is a killer, because it lets Chet just sit in the paint constantly.
Yep. Well, and those guys are awesome lob threats and have that rim gravity, but the way that the Thunder guards are fighting over the top of screens, they're not getting that either, and Chet does a pretty good job playing both and not letting him get in behind. And the help, you talked about the low man help, and the tag is there so early. It's hard to see the value from Gafford offensively if he's not catching lobs in these situations.
That's exactly right. Next, you get Kyrie coming up, bringing the ball up the court, side ball screen.
Giddey's already there.
That's exactly right. Josh Giddey's already here. Look at how far he's helping off of Derek Jones. Derek Jones is really important in this series because they need guys to be able to guard Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, Jalen Williams, and Derek Jones is their best bet at it. Like, he's been their best defender this season on the perimeter. But the problem is that when he's on the court, and this is why I think you saw him bring the ball up the court from time to time in this game, it's a little bit easier to kind of make it so that it's harder in early actions for Oklahoma City to help way off of him. But anytime that he's on the court and standing in the corner, this is just an easy help off. This is way too easy for Oklahoma City to just be like, okay, we're just going to sit here. We're going to tag way, way high. We're going to get the ball out of Kyrie's hands, and we're going to make it harder for Daniel Gafford to finish.
34% corner 3-point shooter on the year, Sam. Like, those are just, you're going to play those odds if you're the Oklahoma City Thunder.
That's exactly right. This one, again, got Jalen Williams on Kyrie. This is going to set up as like kind of a tight ball screen action.
SGA's already over there. He's been over there the whole possession.
Over there.
I would like to see the Mavericks get some sort of movement on the weak side over here. Can you get a cut? Can we set a flare? Can we, something like, these guys are just standing over there. Can you do something on the weak side where Giddey's having to play 2-on-1?
So and that's why I wanted to wait until this play particularly to bring this up, because to me, what you want to do is, in this circumstance, you want to really probably go small. If you're Dallas here, you would love to be able to have, you need to be able to have Derek Jones on the court again, like really important player for them defensively. You need to start Derek Jones in the corner on this play here. This needs to be DJJ. So him. And then this needs to be like Tim Hardaway Jr., guy that you think can like really shoot, right? Or at least the guy that like Oklahoma City will treat as a shooter.
Almost
and
40% on corner threes this year.
Yep. Like you said, then you have the exchange where Tim Hardaway Jr. comes down into the action. And then he's the guy in the corner, whereas this comes off and Shai is already here on the opposite side of the rim. You make it so you've got Derek Jones here, you know, at this point after the exchange ends up being the same. And then you've got Tim Hardaway Jr. in the corner.
Yep.
And Kyrie hopefully can, you know, drive, get this ball out to Derek Jones Jr., force Giddey to commit, and then reversal over to Tim Hardaway Jr., who's going to be able to knock down a three. And like we can talk about how Shai can cover all sorts of ground on the court. That is a very far closeout to where I think Tim Hardaway Jr. would be able to get a clean look at a three. Instead, hits the roller. Shai's already there. Next one. Again, kind of tight ball screen action there. Empty side. Lou's already there. Again, weak side. Watch Shai just like already step in, right? He's already stepping in. He's got Gafford. Chet's there to take the other side. Rebound, go.
Joe was in off of PJ in the other corner too. You know, like, I mean, when you're Dort, you know, all you have to do is get back to contest the mid-range jumper because you know Luka's not getting all the way to the rim. Chet's there. Joe's there. There's three other guys on the back line of the defense. All Dort has to do is be able to get back and contest a mid-range jumper.
It's exactly right. It's dead on. This one, they actually look like they're going to switch it at first, and then Lou just like fights over the top and recovers like it's nobody's business. Then, you know, again, that kind of delayed double drag action is what we're looking at here. Luka tries to like snake it.
Freaking awesome.
It's just Lou Dort being so sick. Screen navigation, fights over the top. He's already back. Lou, by the way, Isaiah Joe here like does an unbelievable job of avoiding this Daniel Gafford screen here. This is hard to like stay connected with Luka here. Have this second ball screen coming, or having this like flare screen basically for Josh Green come out and avoid that action is hard. And then Lou just fights over the top again. And he's right there. And it's just absurd. Just completely absurd. Next. Again, you've got Lou Dort coming in. Fighting over the top. Again, look at how like they're so early in the paint here. Look at, it's both of them this time. We've got all five Oklahoma City defenders basically
on one side of the floor.
On one side of the floor. They're communicating on the backside. Isaiah Joe, you can see he's communicating on the backside. He's there. They finally shoot the corner pass out, and it's just like, okay, this is a shot you have to make. They're just willing to make them make the shot. That's what they're giving up. This is the shot that Oklahoma City is comfortable giving up. And it's an unbelievable pass from Luka. It's an unbelievable pass, or it's a wide open shot. That's the shot that Dallas is going to have to make to be able to compete in this series.
Yep.
That's the shot. If Oklahoma City does not adjust its defensive coverages, and after game one, I'm not totally sure why you would, that's the one you're going to have to make. Then this might be coming up on like the last couple here. Again, just very early, as you can see. Watch Aaron Wiggins helping way off of even like Tim Hardaway Jr. here. Already in the paint. Already ready. Chet's out high. Already available. Wiggins, steal. Next one, that empty side kind of action again. Derek Lively. That's, again, as we mentioned earlier, this is the pass that Lively has to make, right?
Yep.
He has, honestly, two options. The Tim Hardaway option is here. It's probably the one I'd like to see, given that Jalen really has to stay attached to Luka, and it's going to have to be a 2-on-1. 1-2 with the corner man there for Jalen Williams on the back, or for Aaron Wiggins on the backside. And he just throws into the sands, right? That's the one he's got to make. He knows it. Like, he puts his head down, right? Then this is the final one. Kyrie coming off, and Case and Wallace just sick. Just totally sick. You have three of these guys that you can throw at Dallas at any point at these ball handlers, and it's just completely ridiculous. The last thing I want to talk about, and we're not going to like belabor the Oklahoma City offense point, is Oklahoma City's offense was great in this game. I just want to call out like one thing that they very clearly did early and often in this game that I thought was really important as we kind of dive into the tape and figure out how Oklahoma City is trying to attack them. Obviously, teams try to attack Josh Giddey. They really try and make it so that Giddey has to be the point guard. You're keeping the ball out of Jalen Williams's and Shai Gilgeous-Alexander's hands if you do that, right? So what's the best way to attack that? What's the best way to attack in general this Dallas defense? Oklahoma City, by and large, set their screen level right around this mark here. Sometimes it was like right at the 3-point line, but it was very rarely like a high screen and roll. Like we saw Dallas there really get into a lot of high ball screen actions. Oklahoma City really went lower with the screen level here. My opinion on that is that they're trying to engage the big earlier, because Gafford and Lively are such drop defenders that they're going to drop naturally in these circumstances in order to keep in front of even guys like Josh Giddey. So this one, you see the kind of reversal again, ball screen there from Chet right at the 3-point line. And now you've got the mismatch on Luka with Shai. They realized early that Dallas was going to switch a lot of these actions as well. And this is just awesome strategy from Mark Daigneault, right? So this one, this just ends up being a peel switch because Luka didn't stay in front.
Yep.
Point blank. Luka needs to be a better defender. Again, we opened this conversation with the fact that he is injured, and we're aware of it. The calf seems not great. Luka was a problem on defense in this game for Dallas. He was. And it's not to take anything away from how great he was. It's just kind of the reality of what the situation is right now for him. And I feel bad for him. It's tough right now. So this one again, Luka just kind of calls a peel switch when Derek Jones is there. And to me, that's one where it can't be a switch. Like Derek Jones is over the top of this. Yeah. Derek Jones is connected to Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. You have Daniel Gafford kind of already here in the paint. He's switched on to Josh Giddey, so you feel comfortable with him being able to leave Josh Giddey. Luka should know that because he's the one that called the switch off of Giddey in the first place. So like having that awareness, I expect Luka to know that in that circumstance. He's a basketball savant. And instead he calls out the peel switch, and then you've just got Shai Gilgeous-Alexander isolating on Luka.
Yeah, I mean,
next one
switches the one you don't want him to switch, and then doesn't. Yeah,
it's bad. He switched both of them, in my opinion, when you didn't have to switch, to be honest.
Yeah.
So this one, look at Chet. This is just like fantastic from Chet, kind of sealing off both guys as a screener here, trying to like make it look like he's establishing post position.
Well, look how deep he has him.
Look at how deep he has him. But again, I want to call out, like, look at Luka just immediately call out peel switch, right? Just immediately just saying like, go, go, go. I'll handle, this isn't a peel switch, I guess. It's just him trying to call out like the communication that's easiest for him. maybe is the way to put it. He's not switching. He's on Giddey. He goes kind of under this screen action. He treats it as an under and says he's there and tells Gafford to get back out. It's a late contest. It's good. It just, again, though, like Luka is kind of, it's like the easy way out. Like, I don't even think he navigated that poorly. I think that like he frankly probably did the right thing. It's just like, it's just hard for him to move. And then he's like kind of standing still after it. I mean, he doesn't get the rebound. Giddey kind of elevates over the top of him. They get the offensive rebound here. Lou Dort drills the three, kind of right in Luka's face. Again, like, I don't mean to just like sit here and like shit on Luka, but like, if he's not healthy, I actually think it's better for them to sit him for game 2 and like try to let this calf like get a semblance of being right. You know what I mean? Because he just wasn't moving out there.
And we've given him his flowers for his defense this year. Like you earlier than me, I've done it recently in the last couple of weeks. And so it's not like we're just like, oh, the narrative is Luka's bad on defense. Whenever this team's been bad on defense, we've crushed it as a team. We've talked about him. We've given them their flowers when they've improved, and him specifically when he's been better. And so I think we're being fair and unbiased with kind of our criticism and analysis of him on the defensive end.
Yep. Next up, again, super low level for ball screen, right? Forces that switch. And it just feels like Dallas is like a little bit confused, right, on what exactly they're doing. They're a little bit late, I guess. Chet just kind of does an awesome job of making contact on that screen. Gafford just stays attached, and Chet just gets behind PJ Washington there. It's just kind of not good enough, really.
Yeah. PJ can't be that high if he knows they're going to switch.
Yeah, that's exactly right. Next. Again, very low level on the ball screen. Chet gets behind Daniel Gafford here. It just feels like to me, like what are we running? Like, what is our defense here? Are we switching? Are we putting 2 on the ball to try and get the ball out of Josh Giddey's hands? Are we trying to go over and play in drop? Well, if you're in drop, then you really need Luka, frankly, to be tagging here.
And if you're trying to make Giddey a scorer, they haven't done that in any of these 3 possessions either. Like they haven't forced him to take a shot on any of these.
Yep. Again, Giddey brings the ball up the court. It just can't move. Like you just can't move. It sucks. Like this is like, I've loved the Dallas Mavericks all year. I went on fucking Tim's show and was like, I think Dallas is a top 5 contender for the title right after the trade deadline. I've loved the Mavericks this year. The whole reason why I thought they were a top 5 contender was Luka. It just seems like he's not healthy right now to me. Like his effort was not, I don't even want to say it's effort because I think he's just hurt. Like he was not this bad on defense this year. He just
there wasn't the same energy. Yeah. And that doesn't make sense in the Western Conference semifinal game 1 for it to be just a low energy for no reason type of situation.
It's exactly right. So like this one is fun because they just like basically run Luka through the ringer, right? Why in the world Dallas would have Luka pick up Isaiah Joe is beyond my comprehension. Like just point blank. I don't remember if this was just a cross match in transition or what, but you're having him when he's not 100% healthy guard this guy who he's going to have to chase around screens constantly. This one, he calls out a peel switch onto Jalen Williams. They kick it back out to Shai. Then you've just got Jalen setting this like lower ball screen. They switch it. And because they switch it, now you've got Josh Green who has to like sag way over into the paint here, be on the opposite side of the paint. And Jalen Williams can make those shots. Like Jalen Williams can shoot the basketball.
Yeah.
Next up, again, super low screen point, right? It was a common theme. It was exactly what they were trying to do to attack them every single time. Now you've got Derek Lively out onto Cason Wallace. You switch this. You've got THJ on Chet. That forces Lively to kind of like sink in a real way. You've got kind of 2 on the ball here now. You've got Kyrie guarding 2 on the weak side. It's just awesome ball movement, right? It's just fantastic ball movement. This is what makes it so hard to like try and do any sort of, 2 on the ball situation, or when you end up with a circumstance where Chet gets behind the roller, right? With Oklahoma City, because all these dudes can fucking shoot.
Yeah.
They ran out a lineup in the fourth quarter of, I texted you this. I think it was Shai, Jalen Williams, Wiggins. Here, I want to see it. It was Shai, Wiggins, Jalen Williams, Case and Wallace, Lou Dort. And it's just like, that's like the most physical, powerful, like wing lineup you can imagine. Basically, Jalen Williams playing the 5. It's unbelievable. Like, I absolutely love it. But like, they can go small better than Dallas can go small without Maxi Kleber.
Yep.
So next, again, pretty low screen point, force the switch, and then Luka just gets beat backdoor, right? This one. Yeah. So this one here, I almost thought they were in zone.
That's what I thought too. And then Gafford comes sprinting up and Josh Green chases across the baseline.
Yeah. So this one kind of broke my brain, and this might be like the last clip that we talk about because I want to move on to the other series. But like,
Luka and Derrick Jones Jr. are definitely in zone, Sam. Because Jones just pushed him off of the ball. Watch.
So, but my question is, are they trying to push him off the ball because they're trying to avoid the Shai Luka matchup? And Derrick Jones is there, and he's just like, let me deal with this, go the other way. Because Luka is like pointing at it too to take him, and then Luka kind of backs off. And Daniel Gafford's like running up.
Well, then maybe Josh Green just really screws up then.
But like Josh Green, you're right though. Like Gafford and Josh Green are in man here, like 100%. Because Josh Green's chasing opposite side. Gafford's coming up to the level, like deal with the screen. I think what happens here is, and I don't know this. This is coming from, I'm not totally sure. This is like a colossal fuck up, regardless, from Dallas. And Dallas has these. Like we've broken down Dallas's defense throughout the year. Like Dallas has these like crazy, weird things that they do. I think what happens is Derrick Jones and Luka communicate to say, hey, I'm going to take Shai for Derrick Jones. Luka backs off. Luka essentially then tries to like peel switch onto Wiggins, and Green realizes it kind of last second what's happening, and then has to close out to Kaysen. I think that the play here is for Luka to be down in the corner dealing with the strong side corner man at the time of the action, right? So strong side corner would be Wiggins coming across the play. And Josh, it's an impossible situation to me. If this is what you're communicating, it's an impossible situation to put Josh Green in.
Especially when like Dallas isn't playing passing lane. Like, go back to that. Watch Derrick Jones Jr. and Kyrie compared to what you showed J-Dub, do earlier. Jones, as we get, his hands are down. He's not active. He's not pressuring the ball. And SGA just tosses it across. And then Kyrie should know right now that Case and Wallace is in the corner and they're a little bit screwed up. Should close out in a way to at least maybe deter this pass a little bit. I realize you got to take away the drive. I get it. But there's just no activity. Think about the difference in the physicality of the defenses of what we saw 20 minutes ago and what we've seen now.
The other thing that's interesting here is that Kyrie is clearly calling something out here.
Yes.
To Josh Green. And it just seems like they're not in any way, shape, or form on the same page to me.
Agreed.
Like I agree with you in terms of like thinking it was zone to start with these two out top with Derrick Jones and Luka. That makes sense based on the way that they're looking. But I really, with everybody else basically playing man, my reaction is that they're just trying to like avoid the Shai Luka matchup, and it just completely falls apart. And like to me, like you said, like Josh Green like fucks that up. To me, it's like unless Kyrie is yelling from the start there, Luka's switching, get back to the corner. Like it's incredible effort from Josh Green.
He's awesome effort.
Yeah, it's just like that's one where like us not being on the court, like and not knowing their signals, like we can't tell who's at fault there, but it's clear that like there's just total miscommunication across the board.
Absolutely.
This one I think is actually pretty funny too. Yeah, this is where we'll end because I don't want to do the like shit on Luka party anymore because I feel bad about it. So this sets up, Luka is guarding, I think, Jalen Williams from the jump here, right? Yeah, Luka's guarding Jalen Williams from the jump. They get through the screen. Shai gets the ball from Jalen Williams. And then Jalen Williams just slips it, right? He realizes that Luka's out high. He's going to have leverage on Luka. He slips it. Tries to figure out where he can pass. And I think Luka just has like no awareness here of where Chet is coming from in terms of the angle of his 45 cut, right?
Yep.
Like he's just kind of like getting big and hoping, right? As opposed to like being totally aware of where it is. And then Chet scores. I don't know that I need to like continue to dive into this. Eventually, like we get into like the crazy Jalen Williams fourth quarter. We get into, continued defensive mistakes by Dallas. It's just a really tough spot, I think, for Dallas to be in if Luka's not going to be able to like outgun them. With Oklahoma City, like on some level, you have to be able to outgun them and also cause them marginal issues defensively. If you can't outgun them, it's just a really significant issue.
Well, let's just say, I think, we talked about Luka and Kyrie. The more I watch that, Oklahoma City is going to force them to win a game with Tim Hardaway Jr., Dante Exum, Derek Jones Jr., PJ Washington, et cetera, making corner threes from the weak side. If the Mavs, the first Mavs win in this series, in my opinion, will be a game where those guys hit a high percentage from the weak side corner three. And then we'll see if OKC wants to adjust or if they say like, kind of like what Boston said to Miami, you did it once. We don't think you're going to continue to shoot from three like that. And so we'll just continue to roll with it. And the other thing is, Sam, they may shoot like that one time. And OKC's offense is so good right now that it may not matter. Like if they don't hold them to less than 117, they can hit, 4 or 5 more threes and it's still not going to be enough. Yep.
Yeah. It's 100% right. Let's go to Minnesota, Denver now, because let's before we do that, I texted you and I texted another friend of mine last night. I said, I think this might be a sweep. I never would have guessed that coming into this series. Like I thought Luka was like a little bit healthier maybe than what he's moving like potentially. I really kind of think Dallas's best bet potentially is to sit Luka for game 2.
Set him for a game and then take your
See
L.
how the cap responds. You're on the road. Like series doesn't start until a team loses a home game, right? Like he just didn't look right last night. Like that's my biggest takeaway is like Luka just did not look like he was on it last night.
I don't disagree. I watched that game and I was excited. I was juiced to watch that game last night. And by halftime, I was like, probably go to bed. And I watched for a little while longer and watched it today to make sure I had all of it watched for this. But it just like Oklahoma City, I kept like just wanting Dallas to make shots to keep it interesting. And it just never happened. I don't want to overreact to a game 1. But yeah, Kyrie has to be way better than what he was. Luke has to be way better than what he was. If you get those two guys going, maybe we get something. And if it is an injury thing, and if rest could help it, I don't hate the idea of potentially doing that.
Yeah, maybe rest can't help it, and like they just got to play through it and see what happens. But I don't know, man. Okay, let's go to Minnesota and Denver. I've never been more surprised by a playoff result than I was game 2. Yeah. I will just say that out loud. I have never been more stunned by a playoff result than Minnesota going into Denver, where Denver has, I think, the best home record in the Western Conference, along with Oklahoma City, playing at elevation without Rudy Gobert, who just had a child. Shout out Rudy for prioritizing family. Good for him doing that. And they just went in there and kicked the shit out of Denver. After the whole thing that we talked about was like, oh, being able to shade Gobert over was like a really important piece of their defense. Being able to have multiple bigs on the court at all times was super huge. Just put in Kyle Anderson. It's all good. We're just going to kick the shit out of them at the point of attack defensively.
Well, I mean, Naz Reid was actually really good defensively himself. I want to give Naz some love, because it's like, okay, well, yeah, if Naz Reid can play like defense like this all the time, sure, that's even more impressive. Listen, Sam, game 1 was fun, and I came out of it going, I fully expect the Nuggets to win game 2, not handedly, but like put a good game together and make us feel like we're going to get one heck of a series. And I listened to somebody say, even if the Nuggets only win that in a close one at home after a game 1 loss, it'll make you a little bit nervous. Not only did they not win a close one, or they got blasted in a game 2 after getting, losing game 1. That's the ultimate response game for the higher seed, is that game 2. And it was the exact opposite. They have Jamal Murray so flustered. Maybe another guy, maybe the injury is really holding him back. Like, if we're going to talk about Luka, we got to be fair with Murray as well. And again, I'm sure people are going to go, everybody's hurt this time of year. I'm sure they are. We can only talk about the ones that we can noticeably see or know or have been reported. And so, but a lot of this is Nickeil Alexander-Walker, Anthony Edwards, Jaden McDaniels on Jamal Murray also. Those dudes, goodness, they get after it.
Just absolutely get after it in every single way, shape, and form. Have been so impressed with everything they've done in this series. And you damn well better believe we're going to watch clips of Minnesota defend for game 2, because holy hell was it impressive. Just first possession out the gate here. They're just going to end up having to peel switch here because of this incredible screen by Aaron Gordon. And just look at Jaden McDaniels fight over the top. And the reason that I put this on here is you're about to see, you can kind of see where this is going. People who have watched the game know Kyle Anderson's getting around the play here, using his length, poking that ball away from Jokic.
Yep.
It just felt like I've never seen Jokic this sped up and flustered. I said that after game 1. I still believe it after game 2. I've just never seen a team be able to like cause him this much havoc at the end of the day. He's just so good at, or they're so good at being able to speed up his process in a real way. This one now, they try and run. Honestly, like what they did was not terribly dissimilar from the idea that I had coming off of game 1, which was post Jokic here and make sure to have one of Michael Porter Jr. or Kentavious Caldwell-Pope same side kick out on the post up, so that when they double, you're forcing the kick out to a great shooter. Not terribly dissimilar. The problem is that this works a lot better if Gobert is playing and you run earlier action on the weak side where you try and get Gobert switched on to one of those guys, and then you have Gobert out away from the play. But because Gobert didn't play, and you have Jaden McDaniels being able to be the guy that can like roam out here, it just doesn't work as well. So double, then you've got Mike Conley flying out in rotation. Speeds him up just a little bit. Michael Porter can make that shot. Like that's a good shot for them, I think. But just the ability to rotate around is huge.
I had in my notes, I thought Jokic got to his spots in game 1 and just missed. And I kind of chalked it up to that. Now that we've seen 2 games of it, I'm a little bit more impressed with the Minnesota defense on him. After game 1, I was like, sometimes guys just miss shots. And then having a game 2 where they limited him to, what was he, 5 of 13 and 16 points. now I'm like, man, I probably need to give Minnesota's defense, specifically on him, a little more credit than Jokic just simply missing shots. And who knows? Like, I still have some feeling that he's going to figure some of this out, but man, they're making him think about it and really work to do so.
And just look at how connected they all are. It's just like automatic for them in terms of rotation. Double comes, Conley shooting out here. You can see Ant start to lift up here. And then Jaden doesn't
going
the other way. He just goes to the corner immediately. Like,
they're
so connected in terms of their rotations at this point that it's just really, really hard, I think, to get anything super clean on them. This is about as clean as you're going to get. Like, Porter just kind of has to make that shot, I think. Now, again, Kyle Anderson out on Aaron Gordon. Just look at how physical Towns is being from the jump here.
I like it.
Look at him pick up Jokic high on the court is the thing. Just right here, and watch these two just like bump. Watch Towns just like pick him up and give him that early contact, right? Again, make it so that he can't get into the exact position that he wants. Kyle Anderson using his length, annoying the hell out of Aaron Gordon. Next. Awesome defense here. Towns does a great job. Again, I think they're going to be very comfortable with these late contests on Jokic.
How about Mike Conley fighting over that first off, Sam, though? Like, I realize KCP is not necessarily like this crazy downhill rim pressure guy, but I mean, this isn't easy. Like, that's essentially Chicago action off Gordon, off the Jokic handoff. And he does a really nice job sprinting off of it, fighting to get back.
Yeah, I get it that Mike Conley is not young anymore. The guy was all defense. He is really fucking good on defense. Like, he flies around. He's not like that level anymore, but he knows where he has to be and he knows what he's supposed to do and he knows the assignment. And again, this is totally out of rhythm 3 for Jokic.
Well, just look at Cat. I know people probably think it looks silly and seems silly. I never even came close to playing at this level. Not even close. But any sort of stuff like this, it just kind of frustrates you. It pisses you off. It annoys you. And it doesn't work on everybody. It doesn't work on every game. It doesn't work on every shot. But if you consistently do it throughout a series, maybe it makes him miss 3 shots, throughout the series that he wouldn't have if Cat was just standing there with his hands down. Like, just defenders being pests at all times. Like you said earlier, it doesn't let you play in a calm state. You're always thinking and adjusting and moving the ball from here to here. And then maybe that, changes how you get into your shot. Like, I think that stuff adds up throughout a game, throughout a series, throughout a playoffs.
Absolutely agree. Next, Aaron Gordon, dribble handoff to Michael Porter. And I mean,
I love Nas.
Just starting this off with Nickeil Walker, just no space whatsoever. Zero space. You're trying to get the entry pass earlier to Jokic there.
Naz Reid doing a great job denying.
Yep. Gets out in front, denies it, denies the angle from Reggie Jackson, right? So now he catches farther than he wants to away from the rim.
With 8 on the shot clock now, so we've wasted some shot clock.
Yep. And then again, that kind of like middle Chicago action that we talked about on the last possession. And just look at these dudes just being physical at the point of attack, right? Like right at the point of these screens. And then Monte Morris.
I'd say that's even Monte Morris.
And then this one, like Naz Reid ends up being a shot clock violation, right? Like, it's absurd how physical and tough these dudes are. Next, you get that early double from Monte Morris. Then we're rotating around again. Anthony Edwards right there. Nickeil Walker right there. Naz Reid up to the wing. Monte Morris out to the corner.
Can you go back? You know what I'd like to see the Nuggets do, Sam? So Jokic dribbles down.
Yep.
Post, throws it out, right? What I would like to see here is Michael Porter Jr. catch, either pass it or pass fake. I would pass it. And then I would like Reggie Jackson to throw it right back to him and have Jokic posting up right now on Kyle Anderson. Like, Kyle Anderson has relaxed. I would like Jokic to pass it out, act like you're going to reverse it, bring it right back to Michael Porter Jr., and then right back into Jokic and have him catch and make a quick move. Look, because Kyle Anderson is relaxed right now. I think he could bury him at the block.
I think it's a good idea. Yeah. So you're saying Jokic like repost right now?
Right now. And then Jackson throws it back to play side to Michael Porter Jr. And then Porter Jr. throws it right into Jokic, who has reposted with better position.
Or you might even be able to cut out the middleman with Porter to keep it in
Correct.
rotation.
Or if he just
have Jokic go to the
in.
middle and duck in. Yeah.
That works for me as well, because Monty's screaming to the other side. And I'm not saying Minnesota couldn't execute another quick double, but like even teams that are connected like this, the more times you make him do it, the more chance it maybe Ant's late. Or if Reggie throws it in with your idea, is it his man that's going to double? Is it Ant that's going to double? Who's going to go double off of that? So I like whenever stars get doubled, pass it out, and then their teams find a way to then get the ball back to them while the defense is quote unquote. Minnesota's technically in scramble right here, right? They do it quick, but they are scrambling a little bit. Let Jokic duck in right now, throw it to him, go get a bucket.
I like that idea. I like that a lot. I think that's really sharp, Bryce. Next, Jokic again, same side, early double. This time doesn't even require like a rotation. They find the early cut, right?
Yeah.
Like really smart here. Like this is, if they're going to send that same side double, this is another option, right? So
yeah,
Edwards goes. As soon as Edwards goes,
is that Justin Holiday or is that Watson?
Good question. Can't tell. I'm guessing it's Holiday.
Yeah, I think it's Holiday.
Yeah. But again, just like look at how NYK-Alexander Walker reads this on the backside, like perfectly. This is what's so fucking hard about Minnesota. NYK-Alexander Walker has become like one of the best perimeter defenders in the freaking league. And he just makes this early rotation. And by the way, like this is something he's comfortable with. Like he did this at Virginia Tech. Like he was a guy that essentially struggled early at Virginia Tech on defense. He just wasn't super strong. That was the reality of the situation. Like it was through his chest. Like it took him a minute to figure it out, like physicality wise. And then, you know, when they're younger or when, you know, he's supposed to be a one and done, ends up being two and done at the end of the day. Second year he's there with Bisabide, you know, is a guy that was like an awesome on-ball defender who came in with Nikhil and played, you know, maybe 10 minutes a game, something like that. His first year at Virginia Tech, he was able to step into the starting line. The second year, they were able to use Beatty and Justin Robinson more at the point of attack, and they used NYK-Alexander Walker a lot more, like guarding small forwards and power forwards at time, and like bigger dudes, right? The 3 and the 4s basically, and it allowed him to like wreak havoc on the weak side, and that's why he averaged like 1.9 steals or like 2 steals a game at Virginia Tech that second year after not being like a crazy, you know, disruptive playmaker on defense the first year. So like this is a role NYK-Alexander Walker is like amazing in on defense from his time at Virginia Tech. He's like comfortable doing this on top of now being one of the best on-ball defenders in the league. So him being able to just be there available, block this shot, just snatch it out of Justin Holiday's hands. Like it's nothing. I mean, NYK-Alexander Walker is turning himself into a guy that is going to make, after his $5 million deal next year, I want to get wildly aggressive on what I think his number might be in free agency after next season. You could tell me it's 20 and I wouldn't be like blown away by that.
Well, here's the thing. And I know we're talking defense. He also shot 39% from 3 during the regular season. He's at 35% during the playoffs on almost 7 attempts. So the volume has gone up. And then I was looking at his corner threes. He's at 45% on corner threes so far in the playoffs. So like this is a guy that's getting it done on the offensive end in terms of floor space. That was another thing I was going to send you when I was talking about these playoffs. Like, guys like him are making shots. Obviously the Thunder, we saw what Aaron Wiggins, Isaiah Joe, Cason Wallace did something crazy from 3 in their game. last night. And then there was with the Knicks, Josh Hart, right, has been really good from three in the playoffs. So I think that's another thing that stood out to me with these teams is, the defense, the physicality, but some of these guys, these quote unquote role players that need to make shots from three for them have really done so far in these playoffs.
Yeah. Derv brings up that Nickeil Alexander-Walker is KCP 2.0. He kind of is. Like, that's the way it's looking right now. And by the way, different career trajectories in some respect, but like not that different, because Nickeil Alexander-Walker, lottery pick at Georgia, or KCP lottery pick at Georgia, Nickeil Alexander-Walker, top 17 pick, if I remember correctly, at Virginia Tech. KCP, averaged like 14 points a game his third year. Nickeil Alexander-Walker, I think, averaged like 12 or so his third year, something like that. Third year, he averaged 11 points per game. Then they kind of like downshifted. It took them like a minute to figure out what exactly their role was going to be. KCP, his fourth year, averages 14 points a game, but becomes like this really good defender who gets a lot of attention for guarding Stephen Curry particularly well, right? Moving off the ball, being able to slide with them. Nickeil Alexander-Walker now, like in his fifth year or whatever, being able to like slide across the perimeter, guard multiple different players. Like, it's not a dissimilar trajectory in a lot of ways. It just took Nickeil Alexander-Walker, I think, like one extra year, in the wilderness of, uncertain team situation, basically, where he got traded a couple of times to have to find that little role. And by the way, on top of it, Minnesota just like tossing its way into that Russell Westbrook deal.
Yeah.
How about that? Like getting Nickeil Alexander-Walker, getting his bird rights, being able to sign him to a 2-year, $10 million deal. I mean, just that's why guys like Tim Connolly are really good.
Find ways to win on the margins.
Winning on the margins in the NBA is why the two teams in the Western Conference that look like they're going to be in the Western Conference Finals as of right now, in Minnesota and Oklahoma City, that's how they win. They win on the margins. It's how you got to win in today's NBA.
Because every team's going to have a star, right, Sam? Like, at the end of the day, you're not winning unless you have Anthony Edwards or, LeBron and like all of these guys we've seen. And, like, that's why the Knicks are where they're at with Jalen Brunson has turned into a bona fide superstar. But they also got to win on the margins with some of the other guys. Deuce McBride has been huge for them so far in the playoffs. So, yeah. And they've made some smart free agent signings as well. So,
yep. This one, Nickeil actually doesn't do like an amazing job this time. Surprise, surprise, of getting over the screen. He actually kind of starts a little bit late here. He gets bumped by Justin Holiday, and their communication is just so ridiculous that they're able to like peel switch this like it's nothing. You know what I mean? Nickeil goes on to Aaron Gordon, but he's still in position to be able to get back out to Justin Holiday if it's a 3-pointer. And the reason that I put this one on here
was awesome on this play. Goodness.
Jaden McDaniels here is fucking insane. So Jaden McDaniels starts the play here. Just watch Jaden McDaniels throughout this entire possession. So he's going to come down. They do like a little exchange on the backside. He comes all the way in to tag Aaron Gordon here on this roll because he's a little bit worried about, okay, Nickeil's a little bit behind the play. We got Karl Townsend drop. We got Mike Conley kind of way over the top. He comes here to cut this off. And then he stops on a dime and gets all the way out there for a full-scale contest on a 3-pointer in the corner. That's like a 25-foot closeout. That's a 25-foot closeout, Bryce.
Yeah.
Are you kidding me?
That was big time.
That's a joke. Like when we talk about ground coverage with draft prospects.
Yeah.
This is like the tape to show them. I mean, my God.
Hey, I want to get Naz Reid tried to give like a hand in the passing lane there as well. Like he's trying to be active. And then he comes back in and for the defensive rebound as well. Like, listen, this is all Jaden McDaniels. I don't want to take away from that. But
yeah,
as we talk about Naz Reid and kind of his effort and energy level on the defensive end, this stood out to me a little bit because this is a mistake. Here's where really good defensives separate themselves, Sam. I bet we could pull clips of anybody in the playoffs having some good possessions. What great defensive teams do is they screw up every once in a while with a miscommunication, and they have elite guys that make up for their teammates' mistakes. They don't pout about it. They don't whine about it. They don't say, oh, it's just 2 points. They do what these guys did here, which is I'm going to help all the way into the lane to take away the lob. I'm going to sprint all the way to the corner to contest the three, and then we're going to go gang rebound and come up with that.
Yeah, and the thing that you bring up really smartly here is Naz Reid. Just this little, look at Jamal Murray not being able to just stop and shoot this out, right?
Sure.
Because
straight chest
Naz, because Naz Reid is here as opposed to here in no man's land. Because Naz Reid is here, he makes Jamal Murray adjust on this pass, giving Jaden McDaniels that little bit of extra time to be able to get out. It's just such incredible continuity defensively.
Also,
like you said, gets the rebound.
Watch Mike Conley's box out here. I love dudes that rotate and get box outs.
This is my favorite. This is so good. This defensive possession is so good.
Watch Conley. Shot goes up, goes sprinting in. Naz Reid comes sprinting in. Multiple efforts from multiple dudes. It's not picture perfect, but it gets the job done.
It's amazing. The Timberwolves rule. They just absolutely rule. And freaking Jaden McDaniels then after that play, by the way, pick it up. Reggie Jackson, 60 feet from the rim, right? Gets out. Completely navigates that ghost action like it's nothing. Nickeil Alexander-Walker completely navigates the screen like it's nothing. They decide to kind of peel switch it at the end of the day because they're pretty comfortable with Naz on these guys. And then Naz Reid just swats him. Yep. That to me, for what it's worth, and this is where I think Denver fans have real reason to say Jamal is hurt. He just doesn't have, to me, the vertical juice, the first step juice. It's a real problem for Jamal right now. Now you've got, this is the play I think they got all the attention online.
Oh, yeah. Yep.
Nickeil basically picks him up 85 feet from the rim, continues to guard. He's there the whole way. Jaden McDaniels just decides to blitz double him. Now you've got Nickeil on the ball trying to grab at it. You've got Jaden McDaniels just going nuts. Super long, 6'9", long arms right there. I mean, this is just absolute hell for a ball handler to deal with. Jamal Murray's pissed. He feels like he got fouled. I mean, this is a great example of the NBA's defensive, just letting guys play a little bit more on defense, which is great.
Look at the shot clock, and the ball hasn't even came close to the 3-point line, Sam.
Yeah, we're at 9 seconds left on the shot clock. The ball has not been within 30 feet of the rim at this point. 8 seconds left. 7 seconds left, still not within 30 feet of the rim. 6 seconds left, not within 30 feet of the rim. 5 seconds left, not within 30 feet of the rim. Finally, we're there. 4.6 seconds. And then Jamal just has to shoot this prayer.
How good has Mike Conley been in all of these clips, man?
Unbelievable. He's been unbelievable.
Think about where that ball screen was set as well compared to all of those Thunder clips we just talked about with their offense.
Yep. Unbelievable. Just look at how good this is. Conley out there closing out. Yeah. That's unbelievable defense. It's unbelievable.
And here's what they know it, and you can see them just eating it alive and loving it. And that's what there's a mentality and an attitude about it that is beautiful to watch.
And just, this is a small thing, right? And this speaks to Karl Towns. And look, I've been as skeptical as anybody on Karl Towns being a winning player in playoff settings, in moments where you need to be hyper engaged, hyper focused all the time, really be able to rotate around, especially if you're going to play the 4. He played the 5 last night for the most part with Naz out there, but especially when you're playing the 4, you're going to have to run around perimeter actions now in the NBA. Karl Towns has been fucking outstanding.
Yeah.
He has been outstanding on defense in these 2 games and deserves so much credit. watch Karl Towns here communicate through this. He understands the time and situation. He's thinking, Jaden McDaniels for a second is thinking, okay, Reggie Jackson, I have to go back out, get to him. Watch Karl Towns. Karl Towns playing on the backside just pushes him, says, take this action, take this screen, go play at the level. I'll go deal with Reggie Jackson. And that just like completely bogs down every single thing that you do. Just really like we're pointing out like all these small things, but for Minnesota, the reason we're doing it is the small things fucking add up for them. There's no other way to put it. They are so good on defense because of the small things and because of the focus on the details. And for Karl Towns to be a piece of that, he deserves an immense amount of credit.
Well, and I think
he was not a guy that was like that early on.
I think sometimes it's easy to go, oh, well, Anthony Edwards just a great athlete, or Nickeil Alexander. Like, yes, there is some of that, but it goes beyond those things as well. And shout out whoever's setting the tone. I don't know who it is, right? Like, is it the coaching staff? Is it Gobert? Is it Ant? Whoever's setting the tone, because Cat and Naz Reid don't just start doing these things just because, right? Like, yes, the setting, but there is a certain culture that has developed there. And whoever's, is it Finch? Is it whoever? I don't know. Whoever deserves the credit, shout out, because that's big time stuff.
Yep, absolutely. These next ones, maybe we'll zoom through a little bit. Nickeil Alexander-Walker just making Aaron Gordon's life hell here. And then you get this like ridiculous rotation from Jaden McDaniels. Jaden is guarding Justin Holiday here on this play. Or no, he's guarding Peyton Watson. I forgot Peyton was in the corner there. So he feels like he can just rotate over with impunity. You got Mike Conley who stays attached there to Watson. Like,
that's
absurd.
Bad offensive possession from the Nuggets too. Like,
but this is what the defense does. It's kind of like you said, like, Jokic is off the court on this possession. So like, they don't have a, immediate, offensive supercomputer out there, but yeah, like it's not a great possession to have Aaron Gordon isolating unequivocally.
Definitely not on Nickeil Alexander-Walker.
Yeah, but it flusters. Like, that's the thing when you play this level of defense, like possession after possession after possession, it just flusters. Like it makes you do like things that you wouldn't do all the time. It's like, this is a set that they like to run all the time. I mean, this is just like awesome help here from Jaden McDaniels.
Yes.
Nickeil kind of gets confused on, are we peel switching or are we staying? Jaden comes over, gets the side view contest. Jokic gets the ball, swatted. Naz Reid again in there. Then they get this like almost steal on Murray. Ball goes out. Now you've got Jaden McDaniels again on Jamal Murray. I mean, they swarm. They swarm everywhere. They just swarm absolutely everywhere. And I love watching them. Like, they are unbelievable. Again, Nickeil Alexander-Walker picking up Reggie Jackson 85 feet from the basket. Here we go with Reggie again. Nickeil just kind of there behind. Now we're rotating. Karl Towns on Michael Porter Jr. deals with the closeout, closes out super well, gets the contest. Ant Edwards now out onto KCP. They panic. They throw that weird pass to Aaron Gordon. Terrible pass. This one sets up. This was hard to kind of grab because they were showing like a graphic beforehand, but this sets up as one of those like little curls that they run to try and get Michael Porter Jr. into the lane. He gets the ball. Naz Reid's right there immediately. Karl Towns helps off.
Cat. That's awesome by Cat.
Unbelievable. Now you've got deep post position, but Naz Reid blocks the first one. Available on the second one. Contests the third one. Just incredible. They're incredible. Like, they're absolutely unbelievable at this point. 23-point game in the second quarter. It's curtains, right? I don't think we need to do more. They've been the best defense. This is one of the best defensive teams I've ever watched on a basketball court, I would say.
And the other thing is they've been awesome offensively. I don't know if it's still the case, but one of the games last night showed offensive rating, and they were the number one offensive rating in the playoffs so far. So, I don't know that we knew that they were going to be this good defensively in the playoffs, but we knew they were going to be good, right? The questions were, how good can they be offensively? And just to give Cat some more credit, Cat is currently averaging almost 21 points a game on 57, 54, 85 in 6 playoff games. So, he's getting it done on the other end. Obviously, Anthony Edwards is the engine there, but this has been a really good playoffs for caller Anthony Towns, who's rightfully so, maybe not, whatever, taking some criticism for big game moments, big situation moments, those type of things, and how good he's been in those.
Okay. I think that this also has a real chance to be a sweep, is where I'm at.
I was thinking about, like, how does Denver get back into this? Do we really think they can go still 2 in Minnesota? And if you only take 1, I don't know, man. I don't know. I'm going to give Joker that he figures this thing out. They got some days off here to figure it out. If Jamal Murray's not healthy, like, he's got to be way better.
My thing. Like, I think that they get at least 1. Maybe 2. I don't know. And the only reason I'm saying that is because of Nikola Jokic.
Yeah.
Like, if I felt any different kind of way, or like had any like level of not respecting Jokic in the playoffs, I would think that just based off of the matchups, the way that Jamal doesn't look right, everything, that this is probably a sweep.
Yeah. And
they
don't have
I can't knock the champs out just yet, because Nikola Jokic is a supercomputer and tends to figure things out.
They just don't have the firepower everywhere else, though, right? Like, Michael Porter Jr. is a little bit reliant on others. Aaron Gordon's obviously reliant on others. KCP. And then we've been saying it from the very beginning. What are they going to get from the bench? And at the end of the day, like, Christian Brown and Peyton Watt, like, great energy wing forwards, but they're not going to solve the problem of going and getting buckets necessarily. So those guys aren't the answer. Like, what Holiday hit 3 or 4 threes in one of the games. So, even with that, they weren't able to pull out a win. So it's got to be Jokic has to figure things out, obviously. And then, Murray for the playoffs overall, Sam, 38-29 field goal and 3-point percentage through, what have they played? 7 games?
7 games. Yeah. They're 4-3 in the playoffs, by the way. Like, It's not like this has been a juggernaut.
And we're losing at one point in every single game against the Lakers, if I'm not mistaken, right?
They were down. They were down at least 9, I believe, in every game. They were down at least 9 in the second half of the last 4 games of that series.
Yeah.
Maybe the last 5 games. I can't remember if it went 5. So it was the last 4 games.
Last 4.
Yeah.
So it hasn't been beautiful.
The last thing I want to say about Denver is, like, this is a team that won the title last year. And this is part of why going back to back is really, really, really freaking hard. They played 82 games last year. Then the playoffs, like, they played fewer games than most teams have to play in the playoffs, because they went 16-4. But, like, that's still 20 games additional on top of that. And then you have 82 again coming into the playoffs. And then you have 5 more. It's coming up on like 200 games in a 2-year, I guess 18-month period, right?
Yep.
It's hard. Repeating is very difficult.
Yep.
I have some concerns about where Denver is right now, but they're going to be fine long term. It's just Tim Connolly built this Wolves team and the Nuggets team, I guess, in theory, very, very well, very, very well, to be able to cause them some problems. Okay. I don't want to talk a lot about Indiana, New York. I will just mention, Mitchell Robinson is seemingly out for the playoffs, I guess.
Stinks.
Absolutely stinks. A huge part of New York's entire, system that they're running is that they get 48 minutes of great rim protection, great offensive rebounding, physical center play. Mitchell Robinson is just like an ass kicker. Like, that's the thing that, like, people don't give him enough credit for. Like, unbelievable athlete, obviously. but just like a pure ass kicker who is relentless every single time he's on the court. I am intrigued to see what New York does. We haven't watched the game yet. I certainly haven't watched the game yet. I think it's just starting. Basically, we might be like 30 minutes into the game.
No, starts in 30 minutes, if I'm not mistaken.
Starts in 30. Yeah, I'm fascinated to see what they do. Do they play like somebody like Jericho Sims? Do they go smaller at times?
Precious.
Yeah, you could go Precious. And this is also where, like, we've talked a little bit about no Julius Randle, right? But, not having Julius Randle is a big deal here now because they don't have the ability to go smaller as easily necessarily as what they could have if they had Julius. So it is a big loss to me.
How many minutes can Hartenstein play? Can Precious come in and give you 10 to 12? Does he help you a little bit at times when just because of the pace the Pacers play at and getting back to a pick and pop from Miles Turner? I think Miles Turner is the key for me for the Pacers. I thought the way New York was defending in game one, I thought maybe him picking and popping and doing those type of things is something he can really hurt them with. So I think he's going to be the key, along with like Halliburton's got to go get some buckets at some point. Like he has to find a way to really score. And then also I was worried about this coming into the series. I don't like any of the matchups for Jalen Brunson that the Pacers can throw at him. I don't think Nembhard's long enough. I thought he had Nesmith on skates every time that he got on him. And I really like Nesmith. McConnell gives great effort, but he was gassed, Sam. Like he's blowing layups and all sorts of stuff because he can only play so many minutes. I don't know what the answer is. Like, I don't know if you try Pascal on him just for some length. I don't know that you want to go there. Who matches with OG then? I think Indiana has some real things to hash out in terms of who takes the Brunson matchup.
Yeah, like it's hard because you kind of want like Turner to be in drop and you want that like extra help man for Siakam to be there so that like he can help off of like, Harder and Anunoby.
Yeah.
Decide to play him on. Like you want that extra body in the paint. I kind of think it's just got to be Nembhard or Nesmith taking a brunt of it, and TJ obviously off the bench too. I mean, like they just don't have like another like body to like really throw out there, I feel like, and like see if it can work.
It was my worry for them coming into the series after seeing what he did to the Sixers. Like Brunson is on one right now. Like he is unbelievable. And again, like I don't want to like look too far into the future. I would be ecstatic to watch him play against the Celtics and see what that looks like.
Yeah.
But because they do have the matchups and it would be interesting to see how they did it and change things out and whatever. But I watched that first game and I didn't love any of those. I thought McConnell did the best just because he plays so dang hard. I think he maybe can wear Brunson down a little bit, but he doesn't have the length either.
So here's the flip side of that though. Indiana dropped 117 on this Knicks team.
Yeah.
And that was with Tyrese Halliburton taking 6 shots and scoring 6 points. I actually think Indiana can score on this team.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah.
Like I think that they can really, kind of create early offense in a real way. I really think that this is a hard defensive matchup for New York too. They have bodies that they can throw at Halliburton, to be sure. Like
I thought Dante was good.
You can throw Dante at him, which they did for the most part. Like Dante was really, really good. But, Jalen basically has to find a place to hide. And Jalen doesn't have a great spot to hide in that series. Like it's almost like you want to just throw him on Nesmith because Nesmith is like probably going to spot in the corners a lot of the time and it makes it a little bit easier. But then you're like losing, if you put Nesmith on the weak side in the corner, you're basically losing like a help defender on Turner short rolls and Turner rolls, right? So it's hard, like for as good as Brunson is, and like Brunson's been unbelievable. Like I don't like this is absolutely not shit on Jalen Brunson hour. I do think that it creates potential mismatches in a real way to have him out there against this team particularly. I don't think it's going to matter though. I do think that I like the Knicks in this series still. Man, the Pacers are good though. Like this is why you go get Siakam too. Exactly. Like people, 100%. kind of shit on that trade a little bit at the time is, now you're gonna have to pay Siakam a bunch of money. Well, you know what? Like, you are in a spot now where the Knicks have no Julius Randle, no Mitchell Robinson. Big thing for Indiana, in my opinion, in this series was how do they deal with the onslaught of offensive rebounding that is going to, come their way, right? This is the 26th ranked defensive rebounding team in the league this year. Do they have the dudes to be able to win the possession game? And without Mitch, it becomes easier for them to keep afloat in the possession game. So I'm actually fascinated by this series now. I would have thought the Knicks would have won with 48 minutes of Hartenstein and Mitch and, figuring out a way to guard Brunson and everything. But if they can win the the 8 to 12 minutes that Hartenstein does not play, that's like a really interesting situation now. I think.
And it'll be interesting with Hartenstein. We've seen him get in foul trouble before. He, his minutes weren't always, balloon the way other guys are. So he's definitely not going to be able to go the way Hart does and some of those guys. So there's going to be minutes, as all game twos are. This one will be really interesting to see the adjustments. Yep. What adjustments are made? Are there new matchups? Can Indiana score at the same rate that they did in game one? And, New York shut the ball extremely well to get to their 121 points. They were 11 to 23 from three. So, can they keep up that efficiency as well?
Did you see anything from Boston and Cleveland that makes you think that this can be competitive?
No.
I did not either, to be totally honest.
Sorry for the great in-depth analysis.
Yeah, the problem is that Boston just has so many bodies that they can throw at Donovan. And I thought Donovan played pretty well again. I thought he was really good.
He's been really good.
Yeah, and he had 33 and played really hard. It's just that, put it this way, they got 17 and 13 from Evan Mobley and still didn't drop 100 on this team. They got 50 from Mitchell and Mobley and 45 from everybody else. Man, it's just
they can't get Strus going. They can't get Garland going. LeVert didn't get going. Tatum went 7 of 19, Sam, in this game. Tatum, I guess I'll give Strus credit for the defense there. Tatum wasn't even that good at all offensively. It's not like Horford banged a bunch of shots or something. Pritchard made shots off the bench. It's just there's too many weapons still, even without KP. I don't know. Maybe Jarrett Allen comes back and it changes things a little bit for Cleveland, but they just struggle to score. And I don't know how these other guys got to figure it out. They got to figure a way to get Garland going, I think.
Yeah, and the problem is that you have Derek White, Drew Holiday, different bodies to throw at Garland. I just think that Boston has so many ways to kind of shut this team down on the perimeter that it's just going to be really hard for them to generate offense, I think. And a big thing with Cleveland's defense is we shut off the interior, right? And right now, no Jared Allen, didn't play in game one, and Evan Mobley does a great job shutting off the interior, but Boston banged 18 threes in this game, and it's just well, that's tough.
Yep.
It's real tough. So I'm a little bit skeptical that Cleveland is going to be able to keep this all that tight, unfortunately. And I wish that I felt differently about it, I guess is what I would say.
Just broke the Jokic won MVP.
Look, people are going to shit on this, obviously, because it's, shit on Jokic week because he had 2 bad games, but it's the right call to me.
It's a regular season award. If they want to include the playoffs, then don't ask people to vote until after the playoffs happen. So,
yep. So it's the right call. He's been the best player in the league for 4 years now, 3 years, whatever it's been. He's deserving of this thing. He dominated the regular season again. Shai and Luka, I thought were unbelievable and were worthy contenders in some respect, but it was, it was Jokic, I thought, this year. I did.
Same.
Okay. Scow's Roar. Thank you for the super chat. This is a fun one. I want to know what you guys think is the most egregious media vote for an award this year.
Oh man.
Also, Sam getting an Aussie accent is fun. I don't think I'm getting an Aussie accent. I talk to Americans like 90% of my day because I'm on the phone with Americans. There's a very obvious one to me that I've seen so far. Do you want to answer this? You don't look through these like I do you?
No, like I know the winners for each award. I have no idea who got votes for any of them.
Yeah, somebody voted Domantas Sabonis for Defensive Player of the Year.
Shut
Third
up.
place.
No, they didn't.
Yep, third place.
No, they did not. You are lying.
I'm telling you, Domantas Sabonis got a third place vote for Defensive Player of the Year.
What the?
That's the answer. There's no other like it. I have seen votes that are similar to that in terms of egregiousness. Yeah, there's just not another answer to me. Rookie of the Year, Chet not being unanimous second place, I thought was kind of weird.
Wait,
like Brandon
what?
Miller had a great year. Yeah, Brandon Miller got a second place vote for Rookie of the Year. Yeah, like that. Look, there are weird ones every year. There are weird ones every year, and I have disconnected from that world. I used to get super fucking furious about it, wondering, it's probably selfish on my part on some level, right? Like wondering why I didn't have a vote or whatever. If someone wants to give me a vote, I'm all for it. But like, I've kind of gotten to the point where I really try to look at it and understand where people are coming from on a lot of these things, because like the deeper you dive into basketball, the more that I feel like you kind of understand that there are a lot of different perspectives on things and like you're willing to hear things out. Sabonis third place for Defensive Player of the Year is egregious, and like there is no argument for that, unfortunately.
Agreed.
Okay, last thing I want to talk about, and this is something that Bryce probably will have no opinions on, so this will be fun.
Yeah, have fun.
I think that people that are longtime listeners of the show know that like before I got into basketball a decade ago or whatever, I worked at Nielsen for a year, and my master's degree is kind of like an MBA in the entertainment industry. I went to Carnegie Mellon. Like I have thoughts on movies and things like that. But there are times where my two worlds collide in that respect, and TV deals and TV ratings and things like that tend to be one of them. And the NBA, it seems like, is about to sign this massive TV deal, like utterly massive. The number that it looks like it's going to be based off of what Andrew Marchand over at The Athletic is reporting is about $7 billion per year. ESPN's going to pay 2.6 for each season. Amazon Prime Video is going to get 1.8, is going to send 1.8. And then the number that has been floated to NBC and TNT, because now there's a bit of a bidding war between the two, is 2.5 billion. And it's 2.5 billion for a lesser package than what TNT currently has. The reason, so I think people know that like I've been very aggressive about saying that there was no chance that the NBA was ever in trouble in terms of this deal. I've said it for years on this podcast. I've seen people work themselves into pretzels mentally, trying to figure out why the NBA is going to fail for this TV deal. Lowered ratings for a time there, the NFL continuing to stay steady in ratings, things like that. I think that people just have like a very fundamental misunderstanding of how these TV deals work. At the end of the day, live sports for these networks like NBC, Warner Brothers Discovery, which owns TNT, Disney, which owns ABC, ESPN, right? Live sports are still the safest investment in terms of terrestrial TV. It is absolutely always going to be the circumstance that live sports will be valued above other scripted entertainment, right? Because live sports are not risky. Scripted entertainment is very risky. You have to invest significant amount of money, developmental resources, R&D, things like that into, many, overall deals for writers, many pilots that get shot that don't go to air, shows that fail after one season. If you get one that hits, it's a cash cow for years upon years, especially for these networks that own their production studios, such as Disney being able to, own all of the shows that it produces and put on ABC, NBC being, owned by the same people that own Universal Studios. Universal's production house, and NBC are the same. So if they get this massive TV show, things are great, right? Live sports, though, you don't have to put in the R&D. You just have to invest a big sum of money, and on some level that you're going to get a return on investment. The reason that you're going to get a return on investment is because a lot of these big, the way that TV sales work, basically, or the way that these deals work, ESPN, ABC, Disney, etc., will pay $2.5 billion up front per year, and they will make that money back and more selling advertisements, right? It's why you see all these deals and everything like that, why you see ads during TV shows. The number there is, well, where do I want to go from there? The reason that these are good deals is because you can make more money off of that, and you can charge premiums based on the ratings of live sports or, scripted TV or whatever, right? To be able to recoup like significant amounts of money and significant amounts of investment versus the R&D you have to put into scripted entertainment, potential other avenues, such as other sports, things like that. Reality TV, potentially an option. Reality TV tends to be a little bit cheaper, but once you get a successful reality TV show, it tends to go up and up and up in price pretty quickly. The reason why the NBA was never in trouble is because the NBA still has an immense amount of inventory that it can put toward these, errors of the games, right? I use errors as opposed to channels or networks because it's different now, because Amazon Prime is getting some games here, $1.8 billion worth of games, right? So they're a streamer, ABC is a network, ESPN's a cable channel. Let's just refer to them all as errors. The reason that the NBA was never in trouble is because of the inventory that they have. They have an immense amount of inventory of games that they're able to give you week after week after week in a window from, frankly, January until June, where there isn't much going on that tops it in terms of sports. The Super Bowl will top it, but that happens in mid-February, right? Like there will be some college basketball games that top it, but the problem with college basketball is that you don't just buy national college basketball rights. You have to buy conference by conference. And on top of that, those conferences are big situations where you get a limited number of, exhibition where you also have to pay for football as well. So if you're looking for games in the window, or if you're looking for programming, more basically in the window between January and June, what are your options? You can pay for March Madness, which does great numbers, but the March Madness deal isn't coming up anytime soon. So, that's not an option. And on top of it, March Madness is only for a month. The rest of college basketball does okay. Bigger inventory, but again, you buy conference by conference as opposed to buying the national, tournament, which is what makes March Madness so valuable. You get everybody versus just regional areas. You could buy hockey. NBA gets better ratings than hockey. You could buy, a few other different options. Like you could try and buy soccer times. NBC has tried that before. The NBA is still the best bet. You can try and buy baseball, but baseball has these weird regional networks. And also on top of that, like baseball's audience tends to be very localized depending on who's playing night after night. The NBA is still the best bet on the market. And it always was. So if you're going to invest money and resources into something where you're trying to get premium advertisers to come in and pay, the NBA was always the best one. The NBA was always the top of the market, in my opinion, for this like little 6-month window. Nobody's comparing it to the NFL. Comparing it to the NFL was always like kind of foolhardy to me. It didn't really make sense. Like they're apples and oranges. And you need to have programming for all 6 months as a network. So if you're ABC, ESPN, if you're NBC, Warner Brothers Discovery, which has Turner and TNT, it always was going to be that the NBA was the best bet on the market for them during this big window of opportunity here every year. And it was always going to be a situation where for this deal specifically into the future, like, I don't know what it'll look like because more and more people cut cable, more and more people don't watch terrestrial TV, etc. Right? Like, I don't know what the next ones will look like. And I don't have any predictions on that. But for this one particularly, where people do still watch terrestrial TV enough, and people are still trying to figure out like streamers and everything, this deal was always going to be good. And anybody that, tried to throw culture war bullshit at you, tried to throw whatever, the ratings are going down, like what's going on with the NBA, like anybody tried to throw that at you just like didn't have a understanding of the marketplace and situation, basically. And that's the reality of it. The NBA was still the best bet. And that's pretty clear to me. Bryce, you have no takes on that, I assume.
I agree with everything you said, Sam.
Yeah. It to me, it's just like very obviously the best. It was there was never a worry with this one. And if you listen to the NBA and like, look, you never want to do like, there's a reason that an appeal to authority is a logical fallacy, right? Obviously the NBA is going to present a position of strength in these circumstances because they don't want to present otherwise. Them presenting a position of strength now has NBC and Turner in this crazy bidding war, it seems like, for a $2.5 billion rights deal to decide who gets these games. So you never want to like just only do this. You want to understand the market dynamics. You want to understand what's going on with the league. You want to understand how healthy the league is, etc. But the NBA was like never, there's never been a time where it's felt like people in the NBA are worried, to me. There might be like the stray comment that you can get from people. Like I can find people that think, like, put it this way, like first, Bryce and I do draft scouting, right? I can find people that think Xavier Lee is a top 15 pick in this, is worth a top 15 pick in this draft.
Yes,
right?
we could. Yes, we could. Yeah.
Like I can find somebody that thinks, Tyler Kolek is worth a top 10 pick, probably. In fact, I know I can. Like, people have different opinions on things, and that's fine, but the people who mattered, like there was never a worry, it felt like to me, on the NBA side. So that's like a 15-minute rant on TV ratings and the NBA's TV deal, which it looks like is going to be $7 billion per year for, I don't know, how many years are they doing this for? I honestly like haven't looked that closely at it. It's just like having an understanding of what all of this looks like from having worked in it before. It just was never like, it was never a worry to me, I guess. And people, were melting down about it, and, let people that frankly just like never knew what they were talking about, like kind of influence their opinion on it. So, and I'm not calling out anybody specific here. Like I don't mean it like that. It's just, there was a lot of it, right? There was just a lot of it. And it was never, I will be interested to see how many people walk back their opinions on this now that they see the NBA is going to get $7 billion per year in TV ratings, or like how those people who like thought that the NBA was like in trouble in terms of this deal, like how they walk back their opinion on it. Or do they just say I was wrong? I would hope they just say I was wrong, because I say I'm wrong all the time. And like, I laugh about like James Wiseman being number 2 on my board, and I laugh like it's hard. Like James Wiseman's number 2 on a lot of people's boards, right? You get shit wrong all the time. Yeah. Okay. Bryce, that's all that I have, because I have to go write draft guide today. Do you have any draft takes that you have? One that you want to fire off before we go here?
No, I don't think so. Go watch the mock draft we recorded a few days ago. That is my draft take. It's a great mock draft. It was a lot of fun. It went fast. I think you'll get a lot of our takes there. I assume in the next few weeks or month, we'll start to expand that thing out. At some point, I assume we'll probably do a 2-round mock, at least go through the second round. And we always, at the end of those, give our guys that we wish we could have got into the first round or would be the next guys up. So, and I think we have a draft sleeper episode or segment coming up.
We will, yeah.
I know we owe somebody that. So we'll dive into those guys as well. But we had a full first round mock that talks a lot about those guys.
We do. So go watch the mock draft. I wish I had like a little graphic up that I could put up, but I can't. Go watch the mock draft that we put up. A lot of you have already done it. It has 11,000 views, doing pretty well. We will have another one of those on Sunday, because the NBA draft lottery is Sunday. Yeah. And Bryce, you need to clear your schedule. This is one of the times where, unfortunately, I have to tell you that you have to be available. Whereas most of the time I'm pretty good at like maneuvering things around on the schedule. This is one where unfortunately you got to be available.
Yep.
So we'll be there. We'll talk draft then. There's a chance that we record on Friday and kind of break down a little bit more playoff stuff. We'll have tonight's Indiana Knicks game to talk about, and then a couple more games to talk about. And then maybe we can do a little bit more draft kind of leading into the lottery. But other than that, that's kind of where we're at coming into the next week. Then we've got combine stuff. We'll probably do a combine episode next week, I would imagine, probably later in the week. They've adjusted the 5-on-5, so it's Tuesday and Wednesday this year, actually, as well, as opposed to the typical Thursday, Friday. So, middle of the week stuff, and I'm excited to talk about it. Bryce, tell the people where they can find your work. Tell the people what's going on.
Yeah, at Motor City Hoops on Twitter for NBA draft, Detroit Pistons content. I put stuff out on Substack. You can find all of it over there on my Twitter. I tweet all of it out. Pistons Pulse podcast if you want Piston specific content. And then, of course, Game Theory podcast here with Sam Vecenie.
Go to The Athletic. Keep me employed over there. That'd be great. I have to write a couple of transfer profiles this year, or today, actually, to go onto the site. CJ Moore and I did 200 of those things, 200 transfers, and did like real scouting on them and ended up ranking them and everything. Other than that, I'm draft guiding today. So that's all I've got. We will be back probably on Friday, or at least I will be. We'll see if Bryce can join. Maybe I might try and get somebody else to join if he's not available. But until next time, we'll talk soon.